It is Monday once again, and you all know what time it is. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking AFC East offseason outlook. We're going to be talking 49ers. And of course, we're talking about the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles to start the show. So do us a favor, kick back, relax, because episode number 46 of 609 Sports Talk, it's here, and it starts right now. Yes. Welcome in, everyone, back to another edition of 609 Sports Talk, live here on Facebook, live over on YouTube. And, of course, if you guys cannot catch our live show on Monday, it is uploaded every Wednesday to Spotify. So you can go back and listen to all the stuff you have missed throughout the week. As you guys know, this is the show that unites fans and ignites debate and does not ignite anything else. So let's not make those jokes again. Last week was enough. But anyway, okay, we're not doing this already. As always, we are your hosts, Pam Nelson, Tyler Adams. Tyler, it's a little breezy out today, but how are we doing on this beautiful, beautiful Monday?
Well, with the wins, brought in a lot of NFL breaking news today.
Yeah, I guess the NFL just think
another Victory Monday, which is going to continue on all the way up until the Cowboys. And then it'll go into week 2 because they'll beat the Cowboys. That's it. That's all I got.
That's it? That's it right there. Just cut it right there. That's a mic drop right there. But anyway, so look. As of last night, this was going to be another short episode. You know, we had some AFC East stuff to talk about. That's really all we were going to do tonight. However, a couple NFC teams felt like they just wanted to have a little fun and make some more news for us. The Niners, they've been making some moves over the weekend and today. But to start the show, where's all my Eagles family? We got some Eagles stuff to talk about. And the first topic on tonight's show is the Philadelphia Eagles and head coach Nick Sirianni have agreed to a multi-year contract extension. Now, Sirianni, who was entering the final year of his current contract, now gets a multi-year extension. Of course, through his 4 years in Philadelphia, Nick Sirianni, of course, has brought together a 54-23 career coaching record. That is including the postseason. 2 NFC East championships. 4 postseason appearances. 2 NFC championships, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and this coming off a Super Bowl championship this past season. Tyler, how the hell are we feeling today about Coach Sirianni getting the contract extension?
Man, I feel like I'm off the rails a little bit here because I got an even better question for you.
No. Whoa. No. You don't turn this around and ask me a question.
Oh, I'm turning this around just like Guess That Eagle. Whatever that segment was called. Terrible segment.
Don't you disrespect Random Eagle of the Week.
That wasn't the way I wanted to derail this segment. That's not how I wanted it to go. Okay. My question for you, actually, is Nick Sirianni currently the greatest Eagles coach of all time?
I'm supposed to be sharing the show, and you got me answering questions.
Think about I could start by answering my own question, and you can give your thoughts after. But
go ahead.
everything you just listed off. He surpassed Andy. He surpassed Doug. And Doug did win a Super Bowl, but he surpassed him. And outside of that, yeah, the Eagles have had some coaches that won. You know, they had a couple of championships before they were Super Bowls. But in this current day and age for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think it's time to have the conversation of he could already be one of the greatest coaches of the Philadelphia Eagles in history. Now, some people might be mad by that. A lot of people probably get upset by that.
I probably don't care.
What he's accomplished in the, how many years has it been? 5, 4?
He's entering
year 5. Yeah, in 4 years, to appear in 2 Super Bowls, win 2 conference championships, 2 divisions. Now, Anthony, thank you for chiming in. What's up, Anthony? Brings up
Anthony.
Didn't Doug win the Super Bowl at the backup quarterback? Yes, you can make that argument. But Doug Peterson also had a lot of help. He didn't do it all on his own. It took a combined effort from that entire coaching staff on the offense.
Well, could I just? I hate to cut you off. Can I just add something to this before you finish? Let's just remember, there are some morons in this world that think the guy that in 2017 is a better quarterback currently than the guy we have now. Let's remember that, okay? Not Anthony. I'm not saying Anthony. But there are idiots. I'm not going to say any names, Chase Daniel. But, you know, there are idiots that think Nick Foles is better than Jalen Hurts. Just remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it's absurd. Nick Foles, love him. Hell of a job. Great run. I mean, it was a storybook ending. That's not enough for me to put Doug as the all-time greatest Eagles coach. Yeah, I needed to see more than just that. Because outside of that Super Bowl, what did they follow up with? A dud? Another dud? There wasn't much outside of that. So that's probably going to go down as his one defining moment as a coach, and that's cool for him. That's fine. But that's not going to put him in the conversation as an all-time great Eagles head coach. So I love the multi-year deal. A lot of people were on his back last year. I was one of them included. I was about to get on him a little bit. I know you were one of the people who rushed it a lot more than me. I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. The only person I never questioned last year was Jalen Hurts. So I could stand by that. But yeah, Nick Sirianni, I was in that boat last year because it just seemed like he was going back to his old ways. It wasn't working out. And then he flipped the switch. He cut his hair off. And once he did that, it was over.
Nick Baldiani.
Yep.
He turned
it around. But what are some of the contract details for that?
That has not been disclosed yet.
Okay.
All we know is that it is a multi-year extension. I'm sure there's a hefty pay increase in there.
Oh yeah.
He was one of the lower paid head coaches in the league when he was hired. So I'm sure there's a pretty paycheck coming his way in the near future. But all right, so let me get back to your question about greatest Eagles coach of all time. First of all, I love Doug. Okay? A lot of people didn't like Doug because it was from the Andy tree, which up until now was the greatest era of Eagles football before these past what we're in right now.
Yep.
Now, don't get me wrong. We had a great run with Andy Reid.
Oh yeah.
And Anthony, that's what you get when you trust Google. That is what.
Let me guess. Was it the Google AI response?
That's exactly what it is. It's probably the top thing you see on your screen.
Oh, man.
I use it all the time. But anyway, look, let me just come out and say this. I love Andy. Unlike most Eagle fans, I love Andy. I know it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows here, but Andy was the reason for all that success for all those years. And what was it, 14 years here? 5 NFC Championship game appearances, including 4 straight?
Yeah.
Or 3 straight? How many? No, 4 straight. Got to a Super Bowl. The biggest issue with that is, though, Andy never got over that hump.
Yep.
Dick Vermeil never got over that hump. Buddy Ryan didn't even find the camel to find the hump. But for one, I believe that Nick, if he isn't yet, what else do you need him to do?
Yeah. I mean, statistically, he's already done the most in only 4 years. I mean, he can retire tomorrow, and he still would be the greatest Eagle coach of all time, statistically speaking. Different people are going to have their arguments to make. That's all right. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, the Super Bowl ring doesn't lie. 2 Super Bowl appearances doesn't lie in 4 years. 2 conference championships. 2 division titles. I mean, a winning record.
Yeah. And I guess, the thing is now is what's next? I mean, I know people, because like we were saying with Doug, Doug did get that Super Bowl, but Doug never got that team remotely close again. Now, I know we could talk about coaches in Philly winning their first Super Bowl, but let's just look at that, okay? Nick and Doug each got to their first Super Bowl. One guy did win it, yes, but never had that team in a position again to get back to it. This guy lost that Super Bowl to no fault of his offense. I'm not going to mention names. Jonathan Gannon. They lost that Super Bowl. Yeah, exactly. They lost that Super Bowl in the most traumatic of ways. A holding call that, I'm sorry, I get he's a holding. I don't call that there. You can't call that in that kind of game. In a game where the best pass rush of all time, we were told, couldn't get one pressure on Patrick Mahomes because the field was literally getting watered by the second. Then to come back from what happened last year, which is why here's the thing. I was always, going through the early parts of this year, more skeptical with Nick than I was with Jalen. I knew what most of Jalen's problem was in 2023. He wasn't being coached in 2023. He was being asked to win. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous, but here's the difference, right? What I mean by that, Kellen Moore came here and said, I'm going to figure a way to get you back to what you used to be. Brian Johnson basically would be, with the way he called games was, I have no freaking clue what I am doing. Can you just go win this game with what I know you can do? That's what I mean by it. Not blaming Jalen.
Yeah,
Jalen, in 2023, he played hero ball a lot. Now, a lot of it was because the play calling was subpar. Probably even less than subpar. I'm probably being generous, but
that's very generous.
Exactly. But all I asked with Jalen last year, just come in. Stop turning the football over. And I know people were getting on me for you can't, it's only one bad year. I understand that. But when you get to that point, things change. It don't matter. You can't if you want to be good in this league, you can't turn the football over. That's all I ask. And through 4 weeks, it wasn't happening. It was still same old.
It wasn't that bad. It was
pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Are you still blaming the bad Jurgen snap on him?
No.
Oh, wow.
I'm just tired. I'm talking as a football team in general. You can't turn the football over 2-3 times a game and expect to win.
Exactly.
That's what I'm trying to get here.
And they cleaned it up. They got it together.
Yeah.
And what did we see? We saw a lot of almost near perfect execution.
Well, and that's my point. But that's the thing. So Jalen in 2023 has 15 picks on the season, and then he had 3 or 4 through 4 games. That's where I was. I don't want. Listen, just to save the argument, I don't give 2 damns who slipped on a field in Brazil. I don't care. I'm not getting to that argument again. They are still interceptions. We can't reverse time and go back. They are interceptions on his record. I get it. But that's my point. And then there was at least 2 more. There was the one at the end of the Atlanta game where, again, I'm not throwing the football. I'm not trying to throw the ball deep with Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates back there. That's too dangerous. There was the strip sack where he just sits there for 5-10 seconds where I'm like, just run.
Yeah.
I don't know how this became a Jalen Hurts conversation. But anyway, that's where I'm at. That's where I was with Jalen. With Nick, though, in 2023, that collapses on his record. Because remember something. The 2 guys that we blamed all that on got fired. Remember that, essentially. Oh, well, Matt Patricia they parted ways. Yeah, he was fired.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian Johnson took another job. Well, yeah, because he wasn't coming back here. That was going to be on Nick's head. Because guess what? At the end of the day, even in Philly, when a collapse like that happens, they're going to look at him, but not before they look at you. They were going to look at Jalen before they looked at Nick. And through 4 games, I saw a lot of things I didn't like. I saw bad turnovers. I saw no creative play calling. I saw a defense that I thought was going to be better, and it got off to a slow start. Then, of course, we have the Atlanta game where I really thought we were heading backwards because I'm like, everyone's like, oh, Barkley dropped the ball on 3rd and 1. Great. Why are you throwing the ball on 3rd and 1?
Yeah.
And then the Falcons go right down the field on the defense, which ended up being the best defense in football. There was just so many things going on in that first month of the season. And I get it. You give them a month. It's like extended preseason, yada, 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 whatever. You can also start out 4-0 and shut me up real quick, too, by the way. But at the end of the day, after getting through all that, Nick Sirianni not only has put this team in the position of being world champions, he's got them in a position to continue it because if you want to continue with the Andy argument because of the longevity, where to get you? At this point, we got to start having some uncomfortable conversations about some former Eagles coaches and players in this city. You got to start having the uncomfortable conversation about Andy. What did the longevity get you? Got you 14 years of almost.
Yep.
It's honestly the only time a franchise and an all-time great coach have split, and both have been better. Both of them have been better since they separated. Andy leaves. He's won 3 or what? Is that 4 Super Bowls or 3?
3. Wait. Maybe. No, 3. Because they won the 1, and then they had the 2 back-to-back, and then they lost this past year, I think. Right? Or am I missing a year? I might be missing a year. I don't even know.
But either way, we got to a point that Andy has been successful. Yeah, so he has 3 and the Eagles have 2. And now they each are 1-1 against each other. There, we're even, Andy. You can go kick rocks now. But honestly, the way you're looking at this, Nick is already. People keep saying, "Oh, he's on pace to have the longevity of Andy." He's already had more success in 4 years than Andy did here.
Yeah, he won more than Andy already. I mean,
he's been to more than Andy.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been to the postseason all 4 years he's been here. He's been to the Super Bowl twice. He just won the damn thing.
Yep.
And before we continue this, let's get into these a couple more comments that came in. We have a new commenter by the name of Jeff Brewer saying, "Well, you got an Aussie that loves the NFL." Morning, mate. Morning, Jeff.
What's up, Jeff?
Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and hopefully we see you for future episodes. We are live every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. For us, at least. Anthony said, "Do you think Sirianni would get the deal if Howie wasn't there?" It's okay.
What kind of question is that, Anthony?
What kind of question?
Anthony, did you come in today wanting to stir the pot?
Okay, all right. All right, let's ask this question then. Does Jaden Daniels win any award last year if Cliff Kingsbury isn't there?
Good point.
That's not. You can't answer that question because first of all, Howie's never going to leave. Howie's probably going to take over. Howie's probably got partial ownership of the team written in somewhere when Jeffrey's done. All this has to go down is with Jeffrey Lurie, and I'm sure Howie Roseman's up for an extension soon too. So I'm sure we're going to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then Anthony also said, "Rand, did anyone know Derrick Henry signed an extension?" Yes, I did. Anthony said, "Who had the most different QB starting, Andy or Nick?" Okay. Anthony, let's not act like Andy didn't have his guy.
He did. Donovan was a big part of a lot of his success. Granted, he couldn't help him win the big one. That's semantics.
He likes to argue. and Anthony, that's why we love you. Anthony, that's why we love you here. That's why we love having you here.
Anthony is our fan igniter.
Yeah, that's where the Ignite debate comes from, is Anthony. Or George, when him and Dustin go off in the comments. That's actually also pretty funny. Also, the question here is, Andy and Donovan, they were great here. Were they as great if Jim Johnson and his defense weren't here?
Yeah. There's a lot of questions to ask, a lot of what ifs.
Because people need to understand something. People like to say, "Oh, Saquon Barkley, Vic Fangio." Nick Sirianni got to the Super Bowl without both of them. He's gotten to the Super Bowl without Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
He also won the Super Bowl without much production from Saquon Barkley.
That defense.
Appreciate it, Anthony. But if you look at the Sirianni thing, let's look at the longevity. When he was hired, I'll tell you right now, I wasn't the fan. It took a lot of convincing with me.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was at first.
I heard of him, but I also wanted to hire Josh McDaniels, so that proves how much of football knowledge I had at the time.
Can you imagine where this team
actually, after watching what happened in Las Vegas, no, I don't.
Oh, my gosh.
But you have to look at the fact that at the time, the candidates that was not a great window of coaching hires.
Well, hey, finding coaching candidates is like scouting players. Sometimes you got to dig deep and find the right one. It's not just going to be the obvious pick.
I agree. And look, I will be the first one to come on. What'd you say?
Shamar Stewart.
Oh, God, please stop.
Watch, we're going to talk all this crap about him. He's going to get Defensive Player of the Year next year, have 14 sacks.
Defensive Rookie of the Year with Jahai Campbell and the Eagles? I don't think so. But anyway, I'll be the first one to admit it. I came out. I called Nick Sirianni a dork. I called him a fanboy because that game against the Niners in 2021, and Jalen threw that 91-yard bomb to Quez Watkins, which I swear was Quez's only highlight in the Eagles uniform. They got down to 1st and goal at the 4 and ran 4 straight plays that went nowhere. And on 4th and goal, they tried to run Philly. And I called him a dork fanboy for it. I'm like, dude, stop trying to win the fans over. You know how you win the fans over? You punch it in for 7.
For 6.
Or 6. Yeah, all right, technicalities. But, like I said, great 2022, then last year happened. And there were people. I didn't say I wanted to. I did say, though, you can make the case. Because if we know something about Jeffrey Lurie, he got a short fuse now. Ever since Chip Kelly, he has had a short fuse with coaches.
Yeah.
He gave Chip 3 years, and they're like, he had 2 10-win seasons. Well, yeah, he also destroyed the entire roster, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Chip was gone. He gave Doug Doug was here for what, 5 years?
I think 5.
And only had 1. I know, Tyler, what we said. He only had 1 losing season after the Super Bowl. But that was the problem. He wanted more control, and his obsession with Press freaking Taylor, which I still will never understand to this freaking day. But at the end of it, what did we say? The other thing that people don't talk about Nick enough is how respected he is in that building. Because why is it... Let me answer you this. We've had this conversation, Tyler. Why is Nick here and Doug is still not? Why is that?
Because he's better at commanding the locker room.
No. I mean, yes. It is because since what happened with Chip Kelly, the Eagles will not allow a coach to have a lot of personnel control. They have say, but they're not going to let nobody. All right, yes. Yes. And Joe Banner was the GM. Andy Reid ran the damn personnel. We know he did. But since what happened with Chip Kelly in 2015, Nick Sirianni had to take the deal, basically, essentially, that Doug Peterson did not.
Yeah, because don't forget, they didn't fire Doug Peterson. They also mutually agreed to part ways. And that was because they sat down and had the conversation. No, I do believe that they gave Doug the same offer that they ultimately gave Nick. They probably told him, you can be the head coach for this next season. We're bringing in all the personnel. We're putting the coaches around you. We're taking away some of your reins. And he probably was like, I don't want that. I can't do that. All right. We're going to go our separate ways then. I do believe that was somewhat along the lines of the conversation they had. And I'm so thankful for it.
Could have been.
Because, man, if Doug Peterson, now it's the what if of if Doug Peterson actually took the role of you're not allowed to have as much control.
It could, yeah, right. We're not dealing with all that now. But no, and look, for Nick, he's got a great relationship with Howie, and that is the thing. As much as people always used to make the jokes and make the criticisms, me included, that Jeffrey Roseman has this weird close relationship with Howie Roseman, guess what? It's paid off over the past 5 years. It's won you a couple Super Bowls now. Howie Roseman, just like Howie, Nick has had to adapt. Nick tried to just give Brian Johnson a coordinator job. Nick decided to hire Sean Desai. Mm-hmm. It blew up in his face. And Nick had to be willing to take a chance on a different approach. And I know what we basically said was, we're going to find 2 veteran coordinators for you, or essentially we're going to have to find a new head coach. And Nick said, okay, let's see what we can do. He worked well last year with Kellen, which I really sucks that Kellen left, and it really sucks now that Kellen probably put himself in a really bad spot for his first ever head coaching position. He's screwed.
I hate
that whole organization. But it's a shame he may be a one and done. It's a shame.
If they were smart, they wouldn't do that. He's
So
not the
they
kind.
have
He's not the kind of coach you hire to fire after 1 year, especially knowing that you just had what was going to be the starting quarterback retire.
Tyler, they haven't known what they've been doing since Peyton and Breeze left.
That is true.
They hung all the balls in that basket. But, and don't get me wrong, my other thing with Nick, I could. It was that damn Flowers speech. It was the damn flowers and the roof. Remember that press conference back in 2021?
Watering the dude. After that press conference, we strung off all them wins.
And he's been on a burner.
We all thought this dude. We were like, "Yo, this guy's crazy. Who the hell is our head coach right now?" And then he just goes on to string off. Well, I don't even know how many games in a row it was to get us into the playoffs.
No business being a playoff team that year.
Yeah, no business. But he watered the flowers, man.
That press conference drove me. I remember watching that, and I just said, "What am I in for the next at least?"
So you know
years?
what we have to have him do from now on, right? He's got to have that one questionable moment throughout the season, because the questionable moment was after that. Was it the Browns game where he was chirping at the fans?
Yeah,
it was after that, and after that, everyone was like, "Oh, he should be fired. This guy needs to go." No, he's won a Super Bowl.
Anthony, are you referring to our coordinators? Because if anything, that's another thing what Nick's doing. He's getting these guys jobs.
Yeah. You either get some jobs or they're just so bad that they're never going to get a job.
Well, Brian Johnson's back doing what he should be doing, being a quarterback coach. But just think of something. Since Nick has been the coach of the Eagles, 3 guys are currently head coaches in the league. Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon, which I still can't believe.
Yeah.
And now Kellen Moore. We thought Kellen Moore was going to be... The Cowboys couldn't get Kellen Moore a head coaching job in 5 years. It took Nick 1. So the Eagles are better at it than the Cowboys. But that's the point. Like, he's got a coaching tree, too, in this league. The question for 2025. What is it, Mike? What's up, Mikey?
What's the question?
But it's the fact that Nick has, and we all remember the opening press conference snafu. We all thought from that, like, yeah, we're doomed.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick has adapted to the fans, which, by the way, referring to your Cleveland Browns thing, he can go walk into a fan in the stand to punch him in the face, and I won't care about it for 3 years from now.
Oh, God.
The fan will probably say, please, win me another Super Bowl. You punch me all you want. Oh, Anthony, trust me, there's no disagreement with that. All those coaches made adjustments this year, Kellen included.
I hope he remembers how to run the football because he's sure going to need it.
I'm assuming Mike is going with the question about our defense for 2025. Mike, we're chilling here, baby. As long as I got Vic up in that press box, we're chilling.
Yeah.
You're going to make something work.
I like what they did with the defense. Everyone thought we were going to have a bad defense last year, too. It's all about the coaching.
Well, did.
Yeah.
But then old number 33 came and played the nickel.
Mm-hmm. It's not a safety.
And he never was. Oh, my God. There's still people saying it. I had someone literally say, oh, no, Makub is going to be the new nickel. He's too small. What?
Get out of here.
What?
People need to go watch some football, man. Like,
so we're gonna put DeJean at safety now. We're gonna have Makuba, who they say is too small, against CeeDee Lamb. Okay, I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Anthony, as of right now, Kellen Moore probably wants to forget he has a head coaching job.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, you saw Nick. Nick just won the Super Bowl. He's on the stance. He's trying to get Kellen. Don't do it, man.
So hold on. Is there a back out clause?
With this one. Can we come up with like a scandal that's just good enough to get me fired so I can go back?
Oh, you wouldn't be coming back at that point.
I'll demote Kevin Patullo in 12 seconds. But no. Watching what Nick is going through in this city, even with 4 playoff appearances and 2 Super Bowls, he's still one of the most scrutinized coaches in the city.
Oh, yeah.
Nick Nurse has barely played 500 basketball, gets no hate. Rob Thompson has failed in every big moment as the – no, I'm serious. Man. No. Listen, I am one of the few 4-for-4 Philly sports fans that actually has a damn decency to remember these things. Nick Nurse has been a 500 coach with the Sixers, gets no freaking criticism. Rob Thompson, as great as he is as a manager, has failed in every big moment in the postseason with the Phillies. World Series, lost. NLCS, lost. Damn near swept in the first round last year. God only knows what's going to happen this year. The Flyers, they don't have a coach long enough for me to critique them, so I can't say anything. They just hired a new one last week.
Oh, God.
But somehow the guy who has been the most consistent, who's the longest tenured, who's won something in this city, is still the one that's criticized.
I think he gets more hate than Doc Rivers. Too soon?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to cut this episode short. If Mr. Adams wants to continue it, he can do it alone. I am done for the night because he just brought up Doc Rivers. Oh, so Mike's question also was more of a fantasy football because he said his Eagles were his defense. Of Mike, always a safe bet. They may not, if they don't win you a matchup, they're not going to lose you it.
Yeah, they're not going to get you 0 points or negative points.
No,
like they're gonna get some sacks. They'll get pressures. They'll probably get a takeaway or two. It's gonna be a safe bet.
Always go with the safe pick.
Yep. Now, could there be better defenses? There could be.
Of course.
Denver, but yeah, Denver, Chicago.
Anthony, that doesn't piss me off as much as Doc freaking Rivers. No, you know why? Because Doc Rivers wasted his last few healthy years.
Yeah.
Anyway, before I get a headache over here talking about Doc Rivers. Why am I talking about the Sixers? Now we're trading the number 3 pick for Laurie Marketing. What are we doing?
Oh my God!
What are we doing over here?
I swear, if that happens.
Anyway,
I'll allow you a team switch.
I'm just not watching basketball anymore. I'm just never watching basketball ever again. But no, Mike. So Mike did ask like I guess he's assuming like what other defenses? The Broncos.
Yeah,
that could be a safe bet.
Pittsburgh, possibly. If their offense can stay on the field, yeah. If their offense can stay on the field long enough
by week 5,
yeah.
Baltimore's isn't terrible.
Baltimore's, I think, is going to be pretty good. They'll be one of the top 5, I think.
Fancy said we need to upgrade and have defensive players. That would be sick.
Ooh.
Instead of doing a whole team.
Yeah, individual. There probably is something that exists out there where you can do that.
Who's the homer that takes all the Eagles defensive players?
Sam.
Yeah. Anyway, but going back to the final few minutes of the Sirianni thing, he deserves this extension. The guy is criticized by his own radio station weekly, even after winning a Super Bowl. I guarantee it. I guarantee it tomorrow. Tomorrow on 94 WIP. Was Nick Sirianni deserving of this extension? Should they have let him play it out? What? Mike said Flyers Stanley Cup will be when my great grandchildren are alive. You get a prize if you count how many greats I said.
We're probably like 6 generations in.
Yeah, probably. What's up, Georgie?
What's up, Georgie?
Georgie said that defensive players in fantasy is very difficult. He is at that kind of time.
Oh,
yeah, George. Well, yeah, George, because you probably draft all 49ers and they're all out by week 3.
There's one 49er I would draft.
Oh, there's definitely that one. But anyway, moving on to some other stuff. There is more Eagles news today outside of the Nick Sirianni extension.
Got some front office.
Yes, Joe Douglas has returned to the Eagles front office in a scouting role. I believe he's going to be a senior scout. Now, of course, we know the Eagles did lose 2 of their high executives in their scouting department to the Raiders. That actually I hate, because now the Raiders are probably going to steal a lot of draft picks over the next couple of years from the Eagles that I really like. But I like seeing old Joe Cool come back here, get a nice little role back next to Howie.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
People say that he wasn't a great GM, but yet he's the reason the Jets have Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and Sauce Gardner. But anyway.
Yeah.
And, it's Joe. It gets him back in a front office, a successful front office, not whatever the Jets put him through.
Yeah.
I think Joe will be a GM again. I hope it's in a better situation.
Yeah.
And also, Howie Roseman's he's lost 2 of his head scouting guys this year. He lost Jake Rosenberg last year before the season. This is a guy he's familiar with and he's worked with and that he can work with. So I like it for both Joe Douglas, getting him back into a front office that he has succeeded in, and Howie gets a guy that he's worked with in the past.
Yeah, I like it too.
I'm sure the Eagles are cool with bringing in fresh faces and all that, but they really liked one Joe during his time here.
Oh yeah.
So I'm happy to see Joe Douglas back over here in the front office and some type of. I think they say he's a senior scout. I'm pretty sure that's what his role is. So for once, Jeff McClain put something out that's actually accurate. But anyway. But no, I'm glad Big Joe's back. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with the other positions that they've lost in terms of the front office, but we know the Eagles will come up with something.
They got a big scouting team. Someone will probably get promoted, and then they'll probably shift somebody else in. It's like a never-ending cycle.
The never-ending cycle of success.
You want to talk about the like an Andy Reid coaching tree, and talk about the Howie Roseman tree of front office executives.
Andrew Berry in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Tyler, speaking of other teams in the NFC, we have some other stuff going on over in good old San Francisco.
Oh no, not another injury report.
No, they haven't. They have to play football to actually get hurt. But anyway,
tell that to Christian McCaffrey. Was that too soon?
George, you could deal with him. The San Francisco 49ers, they've been a busy team this offseason. Kind of in their revamping mode. Before, not too long ago, they gave George Kittle a very generous extension, giving him a 4-year, $76.4 million extension. That was back on April the 29th.
Yeah. They
entered the draft re-upping with Robert Saleh, of course, before the draft. They re-upped with Saleh to be their DC and gave him some new weapons. They gave him Alfred Collins. They gave him Mykel Williams. They got C.J. West. They got a little younger on the defensive side of the football. And now, over the past week, Last week, 3 days ago, Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers agreed to a new 5-year, $265 million contract extension. It includes $181 million in total guarantees. And then just this evening, a few hours ago, they agreed with linebacker Fred Warner on a 3-year, $63 million contract that includes $56 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid linebacker in football. Tyler, where do we start with these new look Niners?
Man, I mean, where do we start? Well, let's start with the fun side of the ball. Let's start with the defense. Like you said, they got younger on the defense through the draft, got some real solid picks. They lock up the best middle linebacker, aside from Zach Vaughn last year, in the NFL.
Which now his contract looks even better now.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But
Howie Rose?
Fred Warner has been doing it for a lot longer. Fred Warner's tried, proven, battle tested. He's that guy.
Oh yeah, and it's just he's basically the most important player on that defense.
He is.
Now, like when they got rid of DeForest Buckner, okay, they lost Armstead. The only reason that they really noticed Armstead leaving is because they thought it was a good idea to give Javon Hargrave and Malik Collins a lot of money. Them dudes haven't stopped the running back since they were in Pop Warner. But, no, I love this deal for Fred Warner. He is, like you said, I know last year Zach Vaughn was sensational, but now Zach Vaughn has now gotten paid. He has to back that up now. Yep. I don't have to, I'm not saying I have to question Zach Vaughn, but Fred's been doing it since he stepped onto the field as a rookie. I mean, there are not many down for down two-way linebackers that are just doing it year in and year out. Whatever Fred Warner has to do for that Niners team, he will do. Stop the run, done. Pass coverage, done. Take the football away, done. He is one of the most, I feel like in a way he's kind of underappreciated in this league.
I think so too. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Like, he is honestly like the modern day Luke Kuechly, if that makes any sense. Like, that's who I view Fred Warner.
I think that's the closest comparison. Because, like, you look at these guys that you've seen over the years that were just like these really good transcendent linebackers, you know, Luke Kuechly, Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, and then Fred Warner. Aside from, I think, Bobby Wagner, he definitely took that mantle over after Kuechly retired. But now he's getting into his later years. I think it's Fred Warner who's going to be that next guy. Draft him in fantasy. Yup, you heard it here.
Well, we know what's going to happen to Fred within the first 3 weeks.
Oh, whoa. Sam, take it easy there.
No, it's not just being a Niner. It's only if George drafts him. If I draft him, it would be fine.
Gosh. Unbelievable.
I'm just saying.
Unbelievable.
I am unbelievable. I know. But no, back to where I was going here. And now he's got a new running mate in Nick Martin that he gets to teach out in the football field, who I'm assuming they're going to try to. Martin's a kid they just drafted this year. I'm assuming they're going to use him in a combination of D. Winters to try to replace Dre Greenlaw, who.
Yeah.
Another guy who I think. Fred Warner may be the most valuable player to that Niners defense. I think Dre Greenlaw was the heart and soul of it. And it's going to be hard to replace them, but you can't get too upset at the team for not wanting to pay a big contract to a guy coming off that major injury.
Yep.
And they lost Ward to the Colts. But they also did draft Upton Stout to replace him, but Stout's a little bit on the smaller side. Now, what really hurts right now is Malik Mustafa tearing his ACL and then just finding out about it a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
So he may miss the start of the year. I mean, Mustafa last year in 16 games, he had 71 total tackles and an interception. He's probably in line to be one of the starters now that Hufanga also left and went to the Broncos.
Yep.
So, but they still have Jairi Brown, of course, Trenton Bourne, 609 zone.
Oh, yeah.
And he's coming off a year where he had 77 tackles and an interception, and he got a bigger role. So, if Mustafa comes back, him and Jairi and Brown together, that's a solid safety tandem. They still have Diamador Lenore. They finally have a damn edge rusher opposite of Nick Bosa, which it only took about 5 years to get, and Michael Williams. Alfred Collins and C.J. West are going to plug up the middle with Bosa. You also have Yetur Gross-Matos, who's going to be your third edge rusher off of the freaking depth chart, Penn State's own. And you got the king back at the castle. You got Robert Saleh back.
Yep. Very true.
Now, if we move over to the other side of the football, I still got concerns about that offensive line.
Anthony, what you talking about?
Is he referring to the Eagles Autism Foundation raising over $10 million? Because if so, that's freaking awesome.
That is awesome.
But now, I don't know about you, Tyler. I still got a lot of concerns about that 49ers offensive line. And I honestly, I have some concerns about the wide receiver position, too.
Yeah. Because, you just gave Ayuk all that money. He got hurt. It's not something that was avoidable. But, you got to see where he's at athleticism-wise coming off of that injury. And then, you got year 2 of Pearsall, who looked pretty promising. Juwan Jennings stepped up a lot. So it's good that they still have them. And then, didn't they draft another receiver? I thought they did. I don't think it was a big name receiver. I forget who they got.
Anthony, we've already been through this. We don't care about the damn push ban. Tell Frankie Lou to keep his mouth. Tell Frankie Lou to keep his mouth shut.
They got one of the Ole Miss kids in the 4th round, Jordan Watkins.
Did they?
Yeah. So something they could work with.
They also got DeMarcus Robinson, but he's also going to be. I thought.
Yeah, DeMarcus Robinson, Jesus.
He carved out a solid role in the Rams last year.
Yeah, well, with how much time Cooper Kupp missed and Puka Nacua, not surprised. Because Tutu Atwell wasn't doing much.
Yeah, but he got a nice $10 million guaranteed deal last year.
Yeah, true. Very true.
I mean, they have Jacob Cowing, who they took in the 4th round last year out of Arizona. I don't know what he is. Look, if you're the Niners at this point, what you're hoping for is you can still just dial up that zone run scheme with McCaffrey, Garendo, a Patrick Taylor maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And it operates through George Kittle. Because that's essentially what the Niners have done this offseason. They've kept their core together. They kept Fred Warner here. They kept Kittle here. There's still a chance Ayuk. I've heard rumors Ayuk still may get moved.
Really? That'd be interesting.
Their offensive line still concerns me, but let's go over to the Brock Purdy extension for a minute here. What are your thoughts on?
You know my thoughts a little bit, but let me reiterate them for everybody else.
Okay.
The 49ers had to stick with Brock Purdy for the time being. Do I believe Brock Purdy's the next franchise quarterback for them? No. I don't think he could be. Is it possible? Sure. Do I think so? I don't see it. With how badly they messed up with Trey Lance and drafting him third, and correct me if I'm wrong, they traded up to take him because they thought another team was going to steal him.
And they also took Purdy as Mr. Irrelevant the same draft.
Yeah. So just think about that, how Mr. Irrelevant got a big money deal before Trey Lance did. Now, Brock Purdy is not a terrible quarterback. He's another one of those good game managers. Game managers seem to do pretty well in Shanahan's system. So, I can't really fault them for giving him the contract. I think once the offense gets a little healthier this year, definitely with bringing Mohamed Salah back as a defensive coordinator, I think the 49ers are going to get back up there again and assert their dominance on the West Coast.
I agree. Now, they are going to have an easier schedule. I think they have the easiest schedule in terms of last year's win percentage this year, but I'm not faulting that for them. But
yeah.
Anthony, I want to say Jalen Ramsey gets traded. His cap hit is killing the negotiations. He's owed like $21 million. And for any Eagle fans out there, one in particular, no.
Please, no.
In terms of Brock Purdy, let me get my thoughts on this. What did you want the Niners to do? Just let him leave and go back into the purgatory of the quarterback?
Exactly. Like, they didn't really have a choice.
No.
I mean, the team's still built to compete. You can't just throw that away because, you don't think Brock Purdy's going to be, the next big thing.
Right.
He's going to be good enough.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at it, let's just look at his numbers here. He's been the full-time starter for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
The year they went to the Super Bowl, he threw for over 4,200 yards, 31 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. This past year, even with all those injuries that they suffered, he still had over 3,800 yards, and he still threw for 20 touchdowns and he threw for 12 picks. So, but again, so many injuries at the wide receiver position, with McCaffrey being hurt.
Yep.
Again, I think we need to stop this evaluation of the quarterback position in a nutshell. Like, oh, well, this person has to be Tom Brady. There's only one Tom freaking Brady.
Exactly.
But if you get a guy in your system that you think is going to work it well, it doesn't matter where he's picked or where he comes from, whether he's a first overall pick or some schmuck undrafted free agent like Drew Brees.
Yep. I mean, you just saw it from this year alone. Or not, well, from their draft year alone. Trey Lance. Bust. Now he's a backup for the Cowboys. Congratulations.
Nope, not even there.
Wait, did he get released from there?
No, he just didn't get re-signed.
Oh.
He's with the Chargers now.
Oh, dear God.
But, again, he isn't. I mean, he's clearly, and I say the same thing. I've had to make this argument for Jalen Hurts. He's gotten to a Super Bowl too. I'm getting tired of this whole, oh, well, this quarterback got there because their roster is there. Oh, they have a stacked roster. What team in the Super Bowl doesn't have a good freaking roster?
Yeah, it's gonna be. You're not gonna find a team with a roster like the Browns from 7 years ago.
No,
and working their way into the Super Bowl. It's not gonna happen.
Then you've got Nick Wright. Like, oh well, no one gets to the Super Bowl as much as a guy with lesser talent than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has one of the greatest head coaches that has ever stepped on the sideline. He has arguably one of the 5 greatest, I'm not saying he's 5, I'm just saying top 5, greatest tight ends in the history of the league. They've got capable running backs. They have capable wide receivers when they're healthy with Rice and Worthy. And he's got one of the best defenses in the league led by Steve Spagnuolo. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't get the argument. Just because he doesn't have Tyreek Hill means that there's lesser talent.
Mike, you're spot on. Yeah. Anthony, when you say the Giants, where are we going here? Are we going with the current Giants? I don't know about that. But again, that's another one. Everyone said, "Oh, the Giants are taking Shedeur." No, they want Jackson Dart. That's who they wanted because they believe that's the best for their system and for their team.
Yep.
If a team likes a guy, they're going to take him. It doesn't matter where. And everyone's like, "Oh, well, that's too much money." Welcome to the quarterback market in 2025. Just 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts was the highest paid quarterback for a month. Now he's the 11th.
Exactly.
Maybe smart for the Eagles to revisit that, by the way.
You're not wrong.
Because that's what Howie's going to have to do.
He needs a new extension before Jaden Daniels' contract comes around.
Oh, dear God. He may break the market. Either that or Caleb will. With Ben Johnson.
Maybe.
But I don't understand why people just I know people like to say, "Oh, well, Purdy's not. He is a game manager." But guess what? That game manager's been to a Super Bowl.
Oh man, Anthony, that is controversial because they had an elite defense.
Also led by Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah. That guy knows how to coach a defense, I think. Yeah. Now, maybe I'll give you offensive-wise, I guess it wasn't anything flashy, but defense?
Anthony, twice they beat an elite roster. As a matter of fact, in 2007, they beat one of the greatest rosters ever assembled. They beat a team with a quarterback that had 50 touchdown passes and one wide receiver who had 50% of them. Also, why did it work? Because they had the quarterback that Tom Coughlin wanted in his system. Now, granted, it did help that he was basically NFL royalty because he's part of the Manning family, but still. At the end of the day, Brock Purdy runs Shanahan's system the way he wants. And if that's worth it, it's going to put up numbers, it's going to win football games, and it's going to get you paid.
Yeah. That's right.
That's the end of the day what this comes down to. Jalen Hurts runs Nick Sirianni's offense the way he wants. Dak Prescott runs Jerry Jones's offense the way he wants. Even though he's not even the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll tell you right now, Brian Schottenheimer ain't calling plays next year.
Are they going to let CeeDee Lamb call plays next year?
Yeah, he's the only weapon, so essentially. After him and George fight for the 5th time on the sideline. Anthony, I don't care if he... Anthony, Joe Blanton took a swing in the World Series with his eyes closed, and the ball left the ballpark. Okay, what do you want me to say? Eli's got 2 Super Bowl rings. Who cares? I don't care if he threw the ball with his eyes closed.
Yeah. Eli did enough because they wouldn't have won if he did nothing. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Eli also in both of those postseasons went into Green Bay and beat Favre in 2007 who was the best team in the NFC, and Rodgers in 2011, who was the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Eli Manning kind of had like that clutch gene because the 2 postseasons where they won the Super Bowls, he was just like probably the best quarterback. Like he was spot on. Like not turning the ball over, throwing tons of passing touchdowns, passing yards. Like dude was just on fire.
All right, so was this the argument that the Giants didn't have elite rosters? Was that the argument we were at here?
Yes.
All right, who's ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Giants starting offense in 2007. Eli Manning, Brandon Jacob, Madison Hedgecock was their fullback. Shout out. Amani Toomer, Plaxico Burress, Jeremy Shockey.
Underrated.
Their offense. Thank you. Their offensive line that year was David Dahl, Rich Schubert, Sean O'Hara, Chris Snee, and Kareem McKenzie. Their defense: Michael Strahan, Barry Cofield, Fred Robbins, Osi Umenyiora. I can never pronounce his freaking name, his last name right. Matthias Kiwanuka, Antonio Pierce, Kawika Mitchell, Aaron Ross, Sam Madison, James Butler, Jabril Wilson. Okay, thank God they had really good edge rushers because they're secondary. I don't know any of those guys. I know who Aaron Ross is, though. Okay. And so, first of all, Strahan's a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
And now let's go to 2011. All right, let's keep the fun going here. Might as well bring them both up while we're at it, right? The Giants' 2011 offense that won the Super Bowl: Eli, Ahmad Bradshaw, Mario Manningham, Hakeem Nicks. Oh my God, this is the year that Bear Pasco was one of their tight ends. I love it. Offensive line, essentially the same. Justin Tuck, Linval Joseph. Linval? I didn't know Linval was on that team. Chris Canny, Jason Pierre-Paul, Matthias Kiwanuka again. They had Corey Webster, Aaron Ross, Kenny Phillips, Antrell Roll. They had players.
Yeah.
Anthony, they had Plaxico Burress as one of their wide receivers the one year.
You might have forgot. Plaxico could play, man.
I don't think people remember Hakeem Nicks when he was on the Giants either. He could play too.
Whoa. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, go back. Go back a damn second. Hold on. Am I forgetting somebody? Wasn't? I'm curious. Victor Cruz was on that Giants team in 2011 too. Last time I checked.
Oh dude, for some reason, I feel like Victor Cruz just like wasn't around then. I don't know why.
That's because Victor Cruz's prime lasted about 3 years.
Man, true.
Oh yeah, Victor Cruz that year only had 1,500 yards and 9 touchdowns.
Oh my.
That was it.
How much did Plaxico have?
Oh, you're going to go all the way back to Tyler.
Yeah,
too many.
We gotta let him know.
Plaxico in 2007 had 70 catches for 1,025 yards and 12 touchdowns.
That's quite the 1-2 punch there. Yeah.
Anthony, I don't care if they were always injured. You said they didn't have good rosters, and they did. I'm not talking about his whole career. What are we doing here?
Those teams were the teams that could actually strike fear into Eagles fans. They haven't put anything together since.
Yeah. Tom Brady struck fear into Tom Brady too while they were there. All right, we want to enter our final segment of AFC East offseason outlook, which I believe is going to be severely undershadowed by the rest of this episode.
Yeah.
Why are you starting arguments, Anthony?
You ignited Sam.
You ignite debate. You ignite me. That's what you get. Oh boy, always fun. Always a fun old time with Anthony.
Oh yeah.
All right, Tyler, let's talk some AFC East offseason outlook. You know, the AFC East has been kind of depressing since Tom Brady left.
Yep, they went from 10 years of winning the division to
Getting
that's
close
it.
to being, yeah,
Not winning it
basically.
since.
All right, so we know the Patriots have been very active this offseason. We know the Bills have been very active this offseason, but they're probably still the heavy favorites to win the division. The Dolphins, I don't know. And the Jets, we'll get into the Jets. But Tyler, as constructed right now, would we have a mutual agreement that the Bills are probably the heavy favorites to win this division?
I think the Bills, they still are the heavy favorite to win the division. But they definitely got some competition this year.
Well, that's where I was going to go with this.
Yeah. But which team is going to be the team that actually steps up?
Well, I guess I'll start with that. First, let's look at Buffalo. They easily still have the best quarterback in the division. Sorry, Dolphin fans. They still have James Cook. They're going to have a year two Keon Coleman. Dalton Kincaid is still there. They brought in Elijah Moore and Joshua Palmer. But I think most of the snaps will be taken up by Khalil Shakir and Coleman. Although Palmer did sign a pretty big deal. I mean, he got 3 years and $36 million. So
okay, yeah, he'll play a solid role.
What I've liked about what the Bills have done this offseason is they have taken care of all their young players. They have paid them all. They've paid Khalil Shakir. They've paid a plethora of guys on the defensive side, including, if I can just go look down real quick, they've got Greg Rousseau, their defensive end. I don't know if I pronounced his name right at all, but he got a lucrative extension this offseason. Terrell Bernard got a big extension. Kristen Benford got an extension. Josh Allen got an extension.
Yep.
And there's an and to this whole thing. They added to this team through the draft. They already had a solid front. They go out. They signed Joey Bosa, who I think now, kind of in like a rotational pass rusher role with other guys around him, can definitely help.
Yeah.
But not only that, they drafted Landon Jackson. They drafted TJ Sanders, which I'm not over yet. They drafted Deion Walker. They drafted Maxwell Harrison. They added more to this defense. So, I mean, they're in really good shape.
They are.
I mean, you're looking at a secondary that's probably going to be Benford and Harrison starting on the outside. Taylor Rapp is man in the safety position, along with, of course, DeMar Hamlin still.
Yep.
It's good to see Hamlin have a solid year last year. And then, I mean, you look at their Terrell Bernard, like I said, if Matt Milano's healthy, I don't think there's any disagreement how good of a linebacker he is.
Yeah, he's a real solid linebacker, if he's healthy.
And then, you just look at their front now with Sanders, with Walker, Ed Oliver. They signed Larry Ogunjobi, but he's getting suspended to start the year for PEDs. With Bosa, with AJ Epinesa. Like, Anthony says 12 wins easy.
Yeah, I can see it. 12 wins.
They probably will.
Yeah.
I think the bigger question is, who do we think who is their biggest threat?
That's tough. That's the real tough question, because you have, on one hand, a team like the Dolphins, who were supposed to compete against the Bills for the past 3-4 years, haven't done anything remotely close to it. And I don't think they've gotten better. Then you got the Patriots, who didn't finish the season with the greatest record last year, but they got to fine tune some things, see what they have. I think they had a really great offseason and a really great draft. I think this year they're heading in to compete. Now, will they be able to compete with the Bills yet? Maybe not. That's to be seen. I mean, bringing in Vrabel as the head coach, it's a big name head coach. He's proven himself in the league so far. I mean, he made the Titans good with Ryan Tannehill, so he can do something.
That's not easy to do.
It's not. And then I feel like the wild card team is the Jets. Because on paper now, the Jets should have a pretty well rounded team. Still got a solid defense. You got an O line. They might be missing a couple of pieces, but for the most part, it's a pretty hashed out offensive line. Still got Brees Hall.
For now.
For now. And now you brought in Justin Fields to give him another shot at being a starter. I still think Justin Fields has something to offer in the league. I just don't think he was given the opportunity. And then you got Garrett Wilson over there. So they should be able to win games, but it's still, to me, they're the New York Jets. So I don't know what's going to happen. I can't hype them up too much.
Oh, I agree. But I mean, like you said, you still are high on Justin Fields. I am too. I think if Justin Fields is given the right opportunity, he can still prove something in this league. Call us crazy. We're not dying. We're going to die on that hill, you and I.
Yep.
Like we said, they still have Brees Hall. They also have Braylon Allen, who they really like, apparently. Yeah. So that's another one. But in terms of offensive building blocks, like we said, they have Braylon Allen and Brees Hall in their backfield. You do have Garrett Wilson. Now, what do you do at wide receiver 2? I mean, you still have Allen Lazard. Yes, I'm still thinking he's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler at some point. And I'm not even trying to be funny. But they also did draft Mason Taylor, the tight end from LSU, Jason's son. I think he is going to be I think he's honestly going to be a really good player in this league, and he's probably going to be their second receiving option. Anthony, we will die on that short hill.
Yep, it was easy to climb.
Very easy, even for me. But like we said, when you look at, they have Olu Fasanu, who is going to be one of their tackles. They have Armin Menbu, who they just took this year. They have their tackles. You know how hard it is to find 2 tackles in back-to-back drafts?
Yeah. Well, Sam, it might not be as hard as you think if you have the record that the Jets do each year.
That is also true. But I've also seen Eric Fisher be drafted number 1 overall in a draft that had Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
And if you look at their defense, they have players. What's the one thing you have to do in this league? You got to get after the quarterback. They have Will McDonald, who had 10.5 sacks last year. They also have Jermaine Johnson, who tore his Achilles early in the season, only played 2 games. So they'll have them back, hopefully healthy next year. You have Quinnen Williams, who anchors the middle of your defense. You have Sauce Gardner in your secondary. Like, they have pieces across their team. Now, the biggest question with this whole thing is going to be, is Aaron Glenn the right coach for the job? And I want to give my thoughts on this real quick, but I'll let you go after. I just want to say that I know people I think that some people gave the Jets a D for that hire. Why is Ben Johnson an A+ for helping Dan Campbell redefine what the Detroit Lions are all about, but Aaron Glenn gets none? I'm sorry, Aaron Glenn didn't lose. It's not Aaron Glenn's fault that his entire defense last year was on IR come playoff time.
People will crap on him for that because it was the downfall of the defense, not to a coaching standpoint, because I mean it was who's next. Like you always hear the phrase "next man up." They sent the next man up. He went down too. So where do you go from there? But I mean, you got to look at the overall over the years and what they've done and what they've built and how good that defense looked. But a lot of people like to just base it off of, oh, defense gave up a lot of points. That's why they lost to Washington. That's why they got knocked out.
We'll ignore Jared Goff and his 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
All right, now, Anthony, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with this. I'm not saying the Jets are the biggest threat to the Bills. All I'm saying is, to be successful in this league, you need to have young playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. The Jets have that. You need to have good offensive linemen, definitely at the tackle position. Well, the Jets have that.
Yeah.
And you need to have at least some cornerstones on defense. Oh, wait, the Jets have that. All I say is what, and I still like Aaron Glenn. And George is bringing up a paragraph here saying that Aaron Glenn is perfect for this job. Hello, he redefined the defense of Detroit. If ownership stays off the field and out of the front office and lets the football guys do their jobs, the Jets will give the East. Yeah, like, they have the talent to do it.
Yeah.
Just let Aaron Glenn try to bring over at least some of that Dan Campbell culture. Not saying he's going to bring the whole thing over.
Yeah. Exactly, and I know what you mean by that, Georgie. You're not expecting them to, they're not going to top the division. They're not going to finish second, but they might split some series 1-1 against their division rivals. They're going to be a pain in the ass. They're going to be right there the whole way. They're not going to go down. I'm going to give them a fight.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Aaron Glenn was the right guy for this job. I think he can bring that culture over because what were the Lions before Dan Campbell showed up? They were a joke of a franchise.
They were the laughingstock.
And who's the laughingstock now? So now it's Aaron Glenn's job to try to fix that. And like I said, I'm not trying to say, look, Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn went to Detroit and redefined that franchise. Ben Johnson gets more love because of what side of the ball he coaches.
Yeah. And I feel like that's always the case.
Yeah, so that's always the first hire every coaching cycle is the big name OC. That's always how it goes.
Yep.
Unless you're the year the Niners hired Chip Kelly. I still don't know what the hell they were thinking.
Yikes.
Those are dark times. But now they got Shanahan, so they're fine. Georgie said it could be a great thing saying that the Dan Campbell tree, like we had the Holmgren tree, so how many good coaches branch? Exactly.
Yeah.
All these coaches now, like, look, Campbell's got a coaching tree now.
Mm-hmm.
Sirianni has one. These guys, and remember, Campbell and Sirianni were the two coaches that were getting ripped apart their first 6 months on the job.
Yep.
One guy was talking about flowers. The other guy wanted to bite your leg off.
Bite your kneecaps off, all right? Get it right.
Okay, whoa, sorry. I didn't mean to miss the specific point of the matter. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I guess that just leaves the team to be, I guess we could say, is New England.
I think it is. They're my favorite team to compete against the Bills.
Because I'm sorry, I don't have I have the Dolphins finish. You're gonna love this. I have the Dolphins in last place in this division right now.
They might. I mean, you can't trust though. You got Ramsey who wants out. You got Tyreek who doesn't know if he's coming or going. You got Tua who doesn't.
That's a really poor choice of words right now, sir. That's a really poor choice of words.
And Tua, you don't even know what Teddy's going to wake up in.
Oh my God! There are these people that are saying that one of the biggest losers in the draft is Quinn Ewers because he didn't stay at college. Dude, he may start 5 games next year.
He might, and it's sad. It's sad to say, but with the recent history of Tua, I mean, can you blame us for saying that?
No.
I mean, it's a very realistic option. He might start more than 5 games. He might start like 6 or 7 games out of the year. We don't know.
Yeah. And, I mean, if you look at it, with Tua, and I'm sorry, I'm not a Mike McDaniel guy. I hate to say it. I'm not a McDaniel guy.
I know you never
and also
were.
And also, if you look at the Dolphins, if they go anywhere after November and if it's under 20, they're not going to win. They don't play well in cold weather. I've never seen a team that affected by weather in my life. And there are teams, I know they're like, oh, well, people like the Lions play indoors.
Yeah.
So I love when they label like, oh, the Vikings are a cold weather team. They're not.
Well, the one thing I'll give them is that they live in a cold environment rather than living in Miami. At least you know somewhat what it feels like. Obviously, you don't have the experience of wearing pads in the cold.
Really? Oh my God! It's like saying the Rams could play in the snow when they live in California.
I didn't say that.
I didn't say you did. I said it's like that.
No, it is not like that. No correlation.
But so I guess we're agreeing that it's the Patriots that are their biggest threat. Yeah. I mean, they've had a hell of an offseason.
I could see the Patriots ending at around 9 wins.
If Drake May could take that next step, I agree. If Drake May could take that step going into year 2, I could clearly see it. I mean, you just look at what they've done this offseason. They drafted Travion Henderson, who I still think is the second best running back in this draft class. I do not care. Fight me on it all you want. They did bring in Stephon Diggs, yes. They still have Hunter Henry. They did draft Kyle Williams, so we still have to wait and see how that whole wide receiver tight end room shapes out. But I'm thinking Vrabel's going to try to adapt to the old Titans way and really run the football a lot.
Yeah. Goes from Andre Stevenson, Travion Henderson. I think they'll be pretty good with running the football.
Well, I mean, they drafted 2 of the best offensive linemen in the draft, and Jarrett Wilson and freaking Will Campbell. So
yeah, I can't believe how far Jared Wilson slid.
I don't know who was picking in this year's draft. But now, if you just look at the defensive side of the football, Christian Barmore, who did get cleared for football activities.
Oh, wow.
So he's ready to go, and that is a boost for that defensive front. So now you have a healthy Christian Barmore, right? You're adding that to a defensive front with Milton Williams and Keon White. You also brought in Harold Landry to give you some help off the edge. They signed Jack Giddens from the Raiders to give them a middle... Or no, not Jack Giddens. Giddens for the Titans. Now, who was the guy from the Raiders he signed? Oh, Robert Spillane, who's coming off a year.
Yeah, Spillane.
He had 160 tackles, 2 interceptions.
Spillane's all over the field.
Exactly. So you're going to have that with Vrabel there. And then you go to their secondary. They brought in Carlton Davis. They still have... Wait, is Kyle Duggar still playing decent football? Yeah, he is. I like the Brave dude. That, for some reason, I forget if they're actually good or not, which is Kyle Duggar. But, like I said, you brought in Carlton Davis. You're putting him opposite of Christian Gonzalez, who already is playing at a top tier corner level going into year 3. They have got a real chance. They actually made that defensively alone. Mike Vrabel's going to have that team flying all over the place.
Yeah.
George, you wanted to bring up something real quickly about his Niners, saying Robert Saleh is back with the 49ers. That week schedule they were gifted, he has to make them a powerhouse. I like Robert. He's from Dearborn, where I grew up. He is going to put the stamp back where. George, honestly, we said that earlier. We agree.
Yeah, I
the
totally
Niners,
see it.
They needed to get younger on defense, which they did. Offensively, I still want to see how the wide receiver position falls out, but I like where they're going. But yeah, honestly, the biggest thing with the Patriots is going to go down to the two things. Number one, can somebody on that wide receiver room be the guy, and can Drake May take that leap, that year 2 leap? But I fully trust Mike Vrabel there. And of course, they brought Josh McDaniels with the Patriots like the Flyers with anybody who's ever played there. As long as we're here, you got a job. It's just how it goes, dude. It's how life is. But yeah, I think right now, where the way things set, I think the Patriots are the biggest threat, strictly because they have the most NFL talent, especially on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah.
The Dolphins, like you said, Ramsey's probably going to be traded within the next few weeks. I'm not going to say what you said about Tyreek Hill, but anyway, they're
in the same way I did. I think you took it way out of proportion with Tyreek Hill. On one hand, yeah, it could be taken that way. But on the other hand, I think he wants to get traded too.
You know where he wants to. He wants to go back to Kansas City.
Exactly.
That's all he ever has wanted. And
Miami ain't going to let that happen for cheap.
Exactly. And the Jets, not there, but we like what we see. I think that's where we're at.
Yeah.
They have a chance to really.
I have to see what the Jets do. I got to see what they have, because it looks good on paper, but I've seen Jets rosters before look good on paper. I got to see how.
The Jets have had 3 paper Super Bowls in the past 20 years. I remember when they had the year with Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, and they thought Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to win them a Super Bowl.
Oh, man. Fitzmagic.
Those were the days. Fitzmagic. Gotta love Fitzmagic. Tyler, anything else we have to discuss tonight?
I think that's about it. Aside from Frankie Louvu wanting the Tush Push band.
Well, maybe Frankie Louvu can learn how to stay on side.
I think he's got some PTSD from being embarrassed.
Most likely. But anyway, guys, that's where we're going to wrap up tonight's episode. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Georgie, Mike, Anthony, our 3 biggest commenters of the night. I want to thank you guys for popping in and talking with us tonight. I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight, and we will be back next Monday, same time, same place. What division we'll talk about next week for our off-season outlook? Well, who knows? And what did I miss? Somebody threw a comment in, right?
Leafs equal Bills.
Oh,
discussed.
Come on, don't do that. Hockey, football. Let's just go there.
Anthony, that's not big enough news.
Yeah, he's making $1 million over the next 4 years. Whoopee. Yeah. Zolt comes in with the lit. Zolt's like, okay, I didn't throw any comments in here yet, so let's throw in this one.
He just wanted the one-liner.
Well, I'm sure Zolt's gonna have plenty to say on Dueling Aces tomorrow night about that. But anyway, guys, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We hope you all enjoyed tonight's episode, and we will see you guys next time. For Tyler Adams, I'm Sam Nelson. Good night, everybody.